What if the key to unbreakable self-control isn't found in the latest self-help trends, but in ancient wisdom that has stood the test of time? Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. These words, spoken nearly 2,000 years ago, still resonate today, reminding us that true self-control begins with mastering our thoughts, not our circumstances. In a world filled with distractions, stress, and endless demands, Stoicism offers a time-tested framework for building resilience, discipline, and inner peace. Today, we're diving deep into 25 powerful Stoic techniques, each designed to help you cultivate unshakable self-control in the face of life's challenges. Whether you're struggling to stay focused, manage your emotions, or simply feel more grounded, these principles will guide you toward a stronger, more disciplined mindset. Let's explore how the wisdom of the Stoics can transform the way you approach self-control, starting right now. The foundation of Stoic self-control lies in understanding what we can and cannot control. This is the core of the Dichotomy of Control, a principle that teaches us to focus our energy only on what is within our power while letting go of what isn't. As Epictetus once said, some things are in our control and others are not. What we think, how we act, and the way we respond to challenges, these are all areas where we hold the reins. But external events, other people's opinions, or even the weather, those are outside our control. Think about a situation like being stuck in traffic. You can't control the red lights or the cars around you, but you can control whether you let frustration take over or use that time to listen to a podcast or reflect on your day. Similarly, in the workplace, you might not control a demanding boss or tight deadlines, but you can control how you approach your tasks and manage your stress. By applying this principle, you free yourself from unnecessary frustration and focus on what truly matters, your own mindset and actions. So, here's a question to consider. What areas of your life are you trying to control that are beyond your influence? Recognizing these can be the first step toward building unshakable self-control and finding peace in the chaos around you. What if imagining the worst could actually make you stronger? It sounds counterintuitive, but this is the heart of the Stoic practice known as Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This technique isn't about dwelling on negativity. It's about building resilience by mentally preparing for life's inevitable challenges. By visualizing potential setbacks or difficulties, you train your mind to face them with clarity and calmness, stripping away the fear of the unknown. As Seneca once said, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." Think about it. When you imagine a future challenge, like a tough conversation or a high-stakes job interview, your mind begins to problem solve. You consider what could go wrong, how you might respond, and what resources you'll need to navigate the situation. This mental rehearsal not only reduces anxiety, but also equips you to handle the moment with confidence when it arrives. It's like having a map in a place you've never been before. You might still encounter obstacles, but you're less likely to feel lost. Here's a modern example. Imagine you're about to pitch a new idea to your team. You know there's a chance someone might criticize it. By practicing negative visualization, you could mentally prepare for that criticism. What would you say if they raise concerns? How would you stay calm and composed? This preparation doesn't just make you resilient, it makes you proactive. So, what's one challenge you could prepare for by visualizing it today? Whether it's a difficult conversation, a personal goal, or even a daily inconvenience, taking a moment to anticipate it could be the key to facing it with unshakable self-control. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. The Stoics understood this deeply, which is why they valued the practice of morning reflection, a time to center yourself, review your goals, and prepare mentally for what lies ahead. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, captured this idea beautifully when he wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This simple reminder shifts your perspective, helping you approach the day with gratitude and purpose. Morning reflection isn't just about positive thinking, it's about grounding yourself in what truly matters. By taking a few moments to reflect, you create a mental framework that guides your actions and decisions. Think of it as setting the compass for your day. One practical way to do this is through journaling. Write down your intentions, the challenges you might face, and how you'll respond to them with clarity and self-control. Another approach is to visualize your day, imagining yourself handling difficult situations with calm and poise. These small practices can have a profound impact on your mindset and resilience. What's one thing you could focus on each morning to strengthen your self-control? It could be as simple as reminding yourself of your values, taking a few deep breaths, or affirming your commitment to staying steady in the face of adversity. The key is to make it personal and consistent. By starting your day with intention, you cultivate a sense of inner strength that carries you through whatever comes your way. Have you ever taken a moment at the end of the day to pause and reflect on how it unfolded? Or do you rush from one day to the next without truly examining your actions and decisions? This is where the Stoic practice of evening reflection comes into play, a simple yet powerful tool for building self-control and self-awareness. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, encouraged this habit, advising, "Assess your day before you sleep. What did you do well and where could you improve?" This nightly ritual isn't about dwelling on mistakes or patting yourself on the back. It's about honest self-evaluation. It's a chance to look at your choices, your reactions, and your habits with clarity and objectivity. Think about it. Maybe today you had a difficult conversation with a colleague, or perhaps you found yourself losing focus midway through an important task. An evening review allows you to step back and ask, how did I handle that situation? Was there a better way? What can I learn from it? This isn't about harsh self-criticism, it's about growth. By identifying where you excelled and where you fell short, you create a roadmap for improvement. It's like giving yourself a daily debrief, a quiet moment to align your actions with your values. Here's an example to bring it to life. Imagine you snapped at a friend earlier in the day because you were stressed. During your evening reflection, you might acknowledge that while your frustration was valid, the way you expressed it wasn't ideal. Tomorrow, you could choose to pause before reacting or even communicate your feelings more calmly. Small adjustments like this, made consistently, can lead to profound changes over time. The evening review is your opportunity to turn each day into a lesson, no matter how big or small. So, as you wind down tonight, ask yourself this: what's one thing you could learn from today to improve tomorrow? Stoicism teaches us to detach from emotions to see things clearly. This practice, known as cognitive detachment, is about stepping back from our immediate reactions and observing our thoughts and feelings without letting them control us. It's like becoming the calm spectator of your own mind, watching the storm of emotions pass without being swept away by it. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This simple yet profound idea shifts the focus from the external events we can't control to the internal responses we can shape. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. Frustration starts to bubble up and you feel the anger building. Cognitive detachment encourages you to pause and notice that anger without letting it take the wheel. Instead of letting it escalate, you recognize it as just a fleeting emotion, not a command to act. By observing it, you create space to choose how to respond. Maybe you use the time to take a few deep breaths, listen to a podcast, or simply remind yourself that this moment, while annoying, is temporary. This technique isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about acknowledging them without letting them dictate your actions. Anger, anxiety, fear, these are all part of the human experience, but they don't have to be in charge. By practicing cognitive detachment, you regain control over your inner world, even when the outer world feels chaotic. So, here's a question to ponder. What's one emotion you could observe without judgment today? Think about that moment when frustration, worry, or doubt arises. Could you step back, notice it, and let it pass like a cloud in the sky? That's the power of cognitive detachment. It's a tool to help you see clearly, even when the waters feel murky. Have you ever paused to consider how small your daily struggles might seem from a wider perspective? The Stoics practiced what they called the view from above, a mental exercise designed to shift our focus from the immediate to the cosmic. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, once reminded himself to think of the universe as one living organism with a single substance and a single soul. This isn't just poetic, it's a practical tool for gaining clarity and humility. By imagining your life from a vantage point far above, you can see your challenges as part of a much larger whole. This shift in perspective helps reduce stress, as it reminds us that our problems, while real, are often temporary and small in the grand scheme of things. It also fosters gratitude as we begin to appreciate the interconnectedness of all life and the fleeting nature of our existence. Think about a recent conflict or frustration in your own life. Now picture it from a distance. How does it change when you see it as just one moment in a vast, unfolding story? What's one problem that seems smaller when you view it from a distance? The Stoics had a powerful belief: embracing discomfort builds a stronger mind. It's not about seeking suffering for its own sake, but about intentionally stepping outside your comfort zone to fortify your resilience. This practice, known as voluntary discomfort, involves deliberately choosing to do without certain luxuries or comforts like fasting for a day, taking cold showers, or abstaining from technology. Seneca once advised, set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare. The idea isn't to punish yourself, but to prepare. By willingly experiencing minor hardships, you train yourself to handle life's bigger challenges with calm and composure. Think of it as mental cross-training. Just as athletes push their bodies to prepare for competition, voluntary discomfort strengthens your mental endurance. For instance, taking a break from your smartphone for a weekend or simplifying your daily routine by removing unnecessary conveniences can help you appreciate what you have and develop greater self-control. These small acts of discipline build a foundation for facing life's inevitable difficulties with grace. So, what's one comfort you could voluntarily give up to strengthen your own resilience? It might be challenging at first, but the growth it sparks is well worth the effort. How would you live if you were constantly reminded that life is finite? It's a question that might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's at the heart of one of Stoicism's most powerful practices, Memento Mori, or the act of remembering death. This isn't about dwelling on the morbid or the negative, it's about using the awareness of life's impermanence to sharpen your focus, clarify your priorities, and live with greater purpose. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Imagine the shift in perspective that comes from truly internalizing this idea. Instead of putting off what matters most, you're inspired to act with urgency and intention. Think about it this way: when we forget that our time is limited, it's easy to get caught up in distractions, procrastination, or even fear. But when we remind ourselves that life is fleeting, suddenly the trivial things lose their grip on us. That project you've been putting off, that conversation you've been avoiding, or that dream you've been delaying, all of it gains new clarity. Memento Mori isn't just a philosophical concept. It's a practical tool for cutting through the noise and focusing on what truly matters. For example, consider someone who's been hesitating to start a new business or pursue a passion. By reflecting on their mortality, they might realize that waiting for the perfect moment is a luxury they can't afford. The fear of failure becomes less paralyzing when weighed against the regret of never trying. So, what's one thing you would do today if you remembered that life is short? Take a moment to reflect on that. It doesn't have to be something grand or life-altering. It could be as simple as reaching out to someone you care about or finally starting that project you've been dreaming of. The point isn't to rush through life in a panic, but to live with a sense of purpose and presence, knowing that every moment is an opportunity to act in alignment with your values. This is the gift of Memento Mori. It doesn't just remind us of death, it reminds us to truly live. Stoicism teaches us to love our fate no matter what happens. This idea, known as Amor Fati or love of fate, is about fully accepting and embracing everything life throws at us, the good, the bad, and everything in between. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happens the way it happens." At first glance, this might sound like resignation, but it's actually a profound shift in perspective. It's about seeing every event, even the difficult ones, as an essential part of your journey. When we practice Amor Fati, we stop resisting what's outside our control and start finding value in it. A job loss, for example, might feel like a devastating setback. But with this mindset, it becomes an opportunity, a chance to reassess your career path, develop new skills, or even pursue a passion you've been putting off. The key is to see adversity not as an enemy, but as a teacher. It's in these moments of challenge that we often grow the most, discovering strengths we didn't know we had. This approach isn't about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring pain. It's about choosing to focus on what you can learn and how you can move forward. It's about finding meaning in the mess. So think about your own life for a moment. What's one challenge you could start viewing as an opportunity for growth? How could embracing it rather than resisting it change your path? Amor Fati invites us to see life not as something to struggle against, but as something to embrace fully, every twist, every turn, and every unexpected detour. How often do you pause before reacting to a situation? In the heat of the moment, it's easy to let emotions take the wheel, leading to decisions we might later regret. This is where the Stoic practice of the discipline of Ascent comes into play. It's about taking a step back and carefully evaluating your initial impressions before acting. As Epictetus wisely said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, define the kind of person you strive to be and let that guide your actions. The discipline of Ascent isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about creating space between stimulus and response. Think of it as a mental pause button. When someone says something that stirs anger, for example, instead of lashing out immediately, you take a moment to assess the situation. Is this reaction aligned with my values? Will it lead to a constructive outcome? This simple practice can transform impulsive reactions into thoughtful responses. Let's bring this to life with a relatable scenario. Imagine you're in a heated argument with a colleague. Their words trigger frustration, and your instinct might be to fire back, but with the discipline of Ascent, you pause. You ask yourself, does responding in anger serve my long-term goals? Is this conflict worth escalating? By taking that moment to reflect, you might choose a calmer, more effective way to address the issue. This not only preserves the relationship but also strengthens your self-control. So, what's one situation where you could pause before reacting today? It could be a disagreement with a loved one, a stressful email, or even a moment of self-doubt. By practicing the discipline of Ascent, you're not just managing your reactions, you're actively shaping the person you want to become. Stoics believe that controlling our desires is key to inner peace, and this principle forms the foundation of their discipline of desire. It's about focusing on what's truly within our control and letting go of attachment to external outcomes, which are often unpredictable and beyond our influence. As Seneca wisely put it, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. This insight reminds us that dissatisfaction doesn't come from lacking material things, but from constantly wanting more. By mastering this discipline, we can reduce feelings of frustration and cultivate a deeper sense of contentment in our lives. Think about it this way: when we set unrealistic goals or chase outcomes that depend entirely on external circumstances, we set ourselves up for disappointment. For example, imagine someone striving for a promotion that hinges on factors beyond their control, like the preferences of a manager or the state of the economy. If they tie their happiness to that promotion, they're likely to feel stressed and unfulfilled, no matter how hard they work. But if they shift their focus to what they can control, like their effort, attitude, and skills, they'll find peace in the process regardless of the outcome. A practical step to start practicing this discipline is to identify one desire you're overly attached to and ask yourself why it matters so much. Is it something you truly value, or is it driven by societal pressure or comparison? By letting go of desires that don't align with your core values, you create space for genuine satisfaction. So, what's one desire you could release to find greater peace in your life? Reflect on that and take the first step toward mastering the art of desire. How often do you pause to ask yourself whether your actions truly reflect your deepest values? This is the heart of the discipline of action, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." These words are a call to stop merely talking about virtue and start living it. The discipline of action is about ensuring that what you do lines up with what you believe, no matter how challenging or inconvenient that might be. Think about it. It's easy to say you value honesty, but how do you respond when telling the truth could cost you something? Or if you claim to value courage, how do you act when faced with a situation that demands you step out of your comfort zone? The discipline of action pushes you to bridge the gap between your principles and your behavior. It's about making choices that honor your values even when it's hard. Consider this. Imagine you're in a meeting at work and someone makes a statement you know is wrong. Speaking up could mean risking conflict or even jeopardizing your standing, but staying silent would go against your integrity. The discipline of action urges you to act in alignment with your values regardless of the outcome. It's not about being perfect, it's about striving to be consistent even when it's uncomfortable. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one action you could take today that aligns with your values? It doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It could be as simple as apologizing when you're wrong, setting boundaries to protect your time, or standing up for someone who needs support. Every small step you take strengthens your resolve and builds the kind of character that can weather any storm. Stoics valued silence as a powerful tool for self-mastery, a way to cultivate inner calm and gain clarity in a noisy world. Seneca once said, "Silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life," reminding us that quiet moments often hold the deepest lessons. Embracing silence isn't just about avoiding noise, it's about creating space to reflect, process, and act with intention. By stepping back from the chaos of daily distractions, we can better understand our emotions, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and make wiser decisions. Think about how often we react impulsively, saying something in anger, scrolling endlessly through social media, or jumping into arguments without thinking. Silence in these moments acts as a shield, protecting us from regret and helping us respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. A practical way to practice this is by taking intentional breaks from social media, giving yourself permission to disconnect and recharge. Or try mindful listening, focusing entirely on the person speaking without planning your next response. These small acts of silence can have a profound impact on your mental clarity and relationships. So, where in your life could silence bring you greater clarity today? It could be in a heated discussion, during a moment of overwhelm, or simply when you need to pause and reflect on your next steps. Silence isn't about withdrawal, it's about returning to yourself, where true strength and understanding reside. How often do you pause to appreciate what you have? In a world that constantly pushes us to want more, Stoicism offers a powerful antidote: the practice of gratitude. Epictetus once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This simple yet profound idea shifts our focus from what we lack to what we already possess, cultivating a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. Gratitude in Stoic philosophy isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's a deliberate habit that builds resilience and contentment. Take, for example, the act of keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, writing down even the smallest joys, a kind word, a moment of calm, or a warm meal, helps train the mind to notice and cherish the good that's already present. This practice doesn't ignore life's challenges. Instead, it anchors us in the things that sustain and uplift us, even during difficult times. By regularly reflecting on what we're grateful for, we strengthen our emotional resilience and develop a deeper sense of peace. So, what's one thing you're grateful for today? Whether it's the support of a loved one, the beauty of nature, or simply the opportunity to learn and grow, taking a moment to acknowledge it can transform your perspective. Gratitude reminds us that even in the midst of life's struggles, there's always something to cherish, and that realization is a cornerstone of unbreakable self-control. Stoicism teaches us that patience is a form of self-control, a way to steady the mind when life doesn't move at the pace we'd prefer. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because an artful life requires being prepared to meet and withstand sudden and unexpected attacks." What he's getting at is this: life will throw obstacles your way, and patience is the tool that allows you to navigate them without losing your composure. It's not about passively waiting, it's about actively choosing to remain calm and focused, even when things feel uncertain or delayed. Think about a moment when you've been stuck in a seemingly endless delay, whether it's waiting for a job offer, dealing with a slow-moving project, or even managing a difficult relationship. In those moments, it's easy to feel frustration creeping in, but patience allows you to step back and see the bigger picture. It reminds you that not everything is within your control, and that's okay. What you can control is how you respond. For instance, instead of fixating on the unpredictability of a career opportunity, you could use that time to refine your skills or explore new avenues for growth. Patience transforms waiting into an opportunity for preparation. At its core, patience is about acceptance, not resignation, but a clear-eyed understanding that some things take time. It's recognizing that life's uncertainties are not roadblocks but part of the journey. So, what's one situation where you could practice patience today? It might be as simple as letting go of the need for immediate answers or finding calm in the midst of chaos. When you choose patience, you're not just enduring, you're strengthening your ability to face whatever comes next with grace and resilience. How often do you exercise moderation in your daily life? It's a question worth pondering, especially in a world that often pushes us toward extremes. The Stoics held temperance as one of their core virtues, a principle that champions balance and self-restraint. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This idea cuts to the heart of temperance. It's not about deprivation, but about recognizing when enough is truly enough. This virtue teaches us to resist the pull of excess, whether it's in our habits, desires, or choices. By practicing temperance, we cultivate discipline and create space for what truly matters. Think about something as simple as screen time. How often do we lose hours scrolling only to feel unfulfilled afterward? Or consider indulging in food while enjoyable. Overdoing it can leave us feeling sluggish and dissatisfied. Temperance invites us to find that sweet spot where we enjoy life without being ruled by our impulses. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one area of your life where you could practice greater moderation? It might be a small step, but it's a powerful way to build unbreakable self-control. The Stoics held a profound truth close to their hearts: the present moment is all we truly have. It's not the past, which is already gone, nor the future, which remains uncertain. As Marcus Aurelius once wisely advised, confine yourself to the present. This simple yet powerful idea is at the core of cultivating self-control. When we anchor ourselves in the here and now, we strip away the distractions of what might happen or what has already occurred. This practice of presence isn't just about awareness, it's about taking command of your mind and emotions in real time. Staying present reduces anxiety because it pulls us out of the endless cycle of overthinking. When we focus on the task before us or the person in front of us, we're less likely to be overwhelmed by hypothetical scenarios or regrets. Think about it. How often do we lose precious moments because we're mentally somewhere else? A conversation becomes hollow if we're not truly listening. A task becomes burdensome if we're distracted by worries. But when we immerse ourselves fully in the present, we regain control over our attention and energy. Consider this simple example. Imagine you're in the middle of a meeting or a family dinner. Instead of letting your mind wander to your to-do list or replaying an earlier frustration, you choose to focus entirely on the words being spoken, the expressions on faces, the tone of the moment. This shift in focus doesn't just deepen your connection with others, it also strengthens your self-control. You're no longer at the mercy of external pressures or internal chatter. You're fully engaged, fully in charge. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one moment today where you could fully immerse yourself in the present? It might be sipping your morning coffee, walking to your car, or even pausing to take a deep breath. These small acts of presence can become powerful tools for building unbreakable self-control, one moment at a time. How often do you complicate your life with unnecessary desires? It's easy to get caught up in wanting more things, more achievements, more validation. But the Stoics teach us that true contentment lies in simplicity. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This idea challenges us to rethink what we truly need to live a fulfilling life. Simplicity, in the Stoic sense, isn't about deprivation or austerity. It's about cutting through the noise of distractions to focus on what genuinely matters. When we strip away the excess, whether it's material possessions, overwhelming schedules, or pointless worries, we create space for clarity and peace. Think of it like decluttering your home. Removing the unnecessary items doesn't just tidy up your space, it clears your mind and makes room for what's truly important. Take a moment to consider your own life. Are there areas where you're adding complexity instead of lightness? Maybe it's a cluttered workspace, a packed calendar, or a habit of overthinking decisions. By embracing simplicity, you're not losing anything of value. Instead, you're gaining focus, calm, and the ability to fully engage with the present moment. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you could simplify in your life today? It doesn't have to be a massive change. Start small. Clear out a drawer, say no to an unnecessary commitment, or let go of a thought that's been weighing you down. Each step toward simplicity is a step toward greater self-control and inner peace. Stoicism teaches us that humility is the foundation of wisdom. It's not about diminishing yourself or shrinking in the face of others. It's about recognizing your limitations, staying open to learning, and understanding that there's always room to grow. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Think about that for a moment. Adversity, challenges, and even our own mistakes are opportunities to practice humility. They remind us that we're not infallible and that there's strength in acknowledging what we don't know. Humility isn't weakness, it's a quiet strength. It allows us to confront our flaws without shame and to see every setback as a chance to improve. When we approach life with humility, we become more resilient. We stop resisting the lessons that come from failure and start embracing them. For instance, imagine you've made a mistake at work. Instead of deflecting blame or pretending it didn't happen, you own it. You admit it openly, ask for feedback, and use that insight to do better next time. That's humility in action, and it's a powerful way to build trust and credibility with others. Practicing humility also helps us stay grounded in a world that often encourages ego and self-promotion. It keeps us focused on what truly matters: growth, connection, and the pursuit of wisdom. So, here's a question to consider. What's one area where you could practice greater humility today? Could it be in your relationships, your career, or even the way you handle criticism? Take a moment to reflect and remember that humility isn't about shrinking. It's about expanding your capacity to learn and grow. How often do you find yourself clinging to things that no longer serve you, whether it's a grudge, a material possession, or an outcome that didn't go your way? Stoicism teaches us the profound art of letting go, a practice that can transform how we navigate life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This simple yet powerful idea reminds us that our peace doesn't depend on controlling external circumstances, but on how we choose to respond to them. Letting go doesn't mean giving up or becoming indifferent. Instead, it's about releasing the grip of attachment, whether to outcomes, possessions, or past events. Think about it. How much mental energy do we waste holding onto resentment, regrets, or even clutter in our lives? These attachments weigh us down, keeping us from experiencing true freedom and clarity. For instance, consider the act of decluttering your physical space. When you let go of items you no longer need, you create room for what truly matters. The same principle applies to our emotional and mental spaces. By releasing grudges or unrealistic expectations, we make space for peace and growth. So, what's one thing you could let go of today to lighten your load? Maybe it's a grudge you've been carrying, an old disappointment, or even a habit that's no longer serving you. Take a moment to reflect on what's holding you back and ask yourself, is it worth the energy you're giving it? The act of letting go isn't about forgetting or denying. It's about choosing to focus on what truly aligns with your well-being. When you embrace this practice, you'll find a newfound sense of freedom and resilience, ready to face whatever comes your way with calm and clarity. Stoicism teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. This distinction is crucial because it shifts the focus from waiting for fearlessness, something that may never come, to taking meaningful steps forward, even when we feel uncertain or afraid. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This profound statement reminds us that courage isn't always about grand gestures. It's often found in the small, everyday decisions to keep going, to face what's uncomfortable, and to confront what scares us. Cultivating courage is a practice, one that strengthens both self-control and resilience. When we act courageously, we don't let fear dictate our choices. Instead, we exercise discipline over our emotions, choosing to respond rather than react. This builds mental toughness, allowing us to handle life's challenges with greater composure. For example, imagine being in a meeting where you disagree with the majority opinion. Speaking up in that moment, despite the fear of judgment or conflict, is an act of courage, and it's also an exercise in self-control. You're choosing to act on your values rather than being silenced by discomfort. Another example might be pursuing a challenging goal, like starting a new career or learning a difficult skill. The fear of failure or inadequacy can be paralyzing, but courage pushes us to take that first step anyway. Each time we do, we prove to ourselves that fear doesn't have to hold us back. Over time, this practice transforms how we approach obstacles, making us more resilient and confident in our ability to navigate uncertainty. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one fear you could face today with courage? It doesn't have to be monumental. Even small acts of bravery can have a ripple effect, building your capacity for self-control and resilience. Courage, as the Stoics remind us, is a skill, one we can develop through consistent practice and intentional action. How often do you act with fairness and integrity? It's a question worth reflecting on, especially when we consider the Stoic virtue of justice. Justice in Stoicism isn't just about laws or systems, it's about how we treat others in our everyday lives. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." In other words, our actions should contribute to the greater good, ensuring that we act with respect and fairness toward everyone around us. Think about it, when we act justly, we're not only creating harmony in our relationships, but we're also building self-respect. It's a two-way street. When you stand up for someone who's being treated unfairly, or when you resolve a conflict by listening and finding a balanced solution, you're practicing this virtue in its purest form. These small acts of justice ripple outward, impacting the people around us and ultimately ourselves. So, what's one way you could practice greater justice today? Maybe it's speaking up when you see something wrong, or simply taking the time to listen to someone's perspective without judgment. Justice starts with intentionality, and even the smallest step can make a difference. The Stoics held a profound belief that reflection is the cornerstone of self-improvement. It's not enough to simply go through the motions of life. True growth comes from pausing to examine our actions, intentions, and the path we're on. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet powerful idea reminds us that clarity about our goals must precede action, and reflection is the tool that brings that clarity. When we take time to reflect, we create space for self-awareness. It's like holding up a mirror to our thoughts and behaviors, allowing us to see where we've succeeded, where we've stumbled, and what lessons we've learned along the way. This practice isn't about dwelling on mistakes or indulging in regret. It's about gathering insights to move forward with intention. One practical way to incorporate reflection into daily life is through journaling. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to write about your experiences, what went well, what could have been handled differently, and how you felt in the process. Alternatively, meditation can serve as a form of reflection, offering a quiet moment to process thoughts and emotions. These practices help us stay grounded and mindful, turning ordinary moments into opportunities for growth. So, here's a question to consider. What's one thing you could reflect on today to improve tomorrow? It might be a conversation you had, a decision you made, or even a moment of hesitation. By examining these moments, you take the first step toward becoming the person you aspire to be. Reflection isn't just a practice, it's a gift you give to your future self. How often do you find yourself pushing back against circumstances you have no power to change? Whether it's a missed opportunity, a sudden setback, or something entirely out of your control, resistance can feel like our default reaction. But what if, instead of fighting what we can't change, we chose to accept it? This is where Stoicism offers a profound tool for self-control, the practice of acceptance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together." This isn't about passive resignation, it's about finding peace by aligning yourself with reality rather than resisting it. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving to improve your life or ignore your feelings. It means acknowledging what is, so you can focus your energy on what you can influence. Think about it this way: when you accept a situation, you stop wasting mental and emotional energy on frustration or denial. Instead, you create space to respond with clarity and purpose. For example, imagine you've been passed over for a promotion you worked hard for. You could spend weeks stewing in anger or self-doubt, or you could accept the outcome, learn from it, and channel that energy into your next steps. Acceptance fosters resilience because it allows you to confront challenges head-on without unnecessary suffering. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to meet reality with courage and composure. So take a moment to reflect. What's one thing in your life, big or small, that you could accept today to find greater peace? Stoicism teaches us that small, consistent actions lead to lasting change. It's not about grand gestures or sudden transformations, but the quiet, steady commitment to applying Stoic principles in our everyday lives. Seneca once said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that they are difficult." This profound insight reminds us that the real challenge often lies in starting and then sticking with it. Consistency is the bridge between intention and mastery, the tool that turns fleeting efforts into unbreakable habits. Think of consistency as the foundation of discipline and self-control. Each time you choose to act in alignment with your values, no matter how small the action, you strengthen your resolve. It's like building a muscle. Every repetition counts. For instance, keeping a daily journal to reflect on your thoughts and actions might seem simple, but over time, it becomes a powerful tool for self-awareness and growth. Or consider a regular meditation practice, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. These small, consistent efforts compound, creating a ripple effect that transforms not just your mindset, but your life. The beauty of consistency is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need to overhaul your entire routine overnight. Instead, focus on one small habit that aligns with your goals. Maybe it's pausing to ask yourself, is this within my control, before reacting to a challenge, or taking a moment each evening to practice gratitude. The key is to commit to it daily, no matter how insignificant it might feel in the moment. So here's a question to consider. What's one small habit you could commit to consistently today? It doesn't have to be earth-shattering, just something that moves you closer to the person you want to become. Remember, it's the cumulative effect of these small choices that shapes a life of purpose and resilience. How often do you turn to others who share your values for support? In the Stoic journey toward self-control, the people you surround yourself with play a crucial role. Epictetus once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." This isn't just about finding friends, it's about building a community that aligns with your principles and pushes you to grow. When you're surrounded by individuals who embody the virtues you aspire to, their influence becomes a powerful mirror, reflecting both your strengths and areas for improvement. Think about it this way: if you're trying to cultivate discipline, wouldn't it be easier to do so alongside others who are also striving for the same? A Stoic study group, for instance, can create a space for shared learning and accountability. Engaging in meaningful conversations about challenges and triumphs can deepen your understanding and commitment to the practice. It's not just about discussing ideas, it's about living them together. Take a moment to reflect: who in your life inspires you to be your best self? Are there people who challenge you to think differently, act with integrity, and remain steadfast in the face of adversity? These are the individuals who can help you build unbreakable self-control, not by their words alone, but by the example they set. Surround yourself with those who uplift you and watch how their presence transforms your journey. As we wrap up this deep dive into the 25 Stoic techniques for building unbreakable self-control, let's take a moment to reflect on their collective power. These strategies aren't just isolated tools, they're interconnected principles designed to help you cultivate a life of intention, resilience, and inner peace. From mastering the art of negative visualization to embracing the dichotomy of control, each technique serves as a stepping stone toward a more disciplined and fulfilling existence. At its core, Stoic self-control isn't about suppressing emotions or denying yourself pleasures. It's about aligning your thoughts, actions, and values with timeless principles that empower you to respond to life's challenges with clarity and purpose. It's about recognizing that true freedom comes from mastering your mind, not from being ruled by external circumstances or fleeting desires. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This profound idea reminds us that our inner world shapes our outer reality. By practicing these Stoic techniques consistently, you're not just strengthening your self-control, you're transforming the very essence of how you experience life. Each mindful choice, each moment of reflection, and each act of discipline adds a new hue to the masterpiece of your character. Now, as we close, I encourage you to think about which of these techniques resonated most with you. Was it the practice of premeditation, preparing you mentally for life's uncertainties? Or perhaps the emphasis on focusing only on what's within your control, freeing you from unnecessary worry? Whatever it is, consider how you can weave these principles into your daily routine, one small step at a time. Finally, I'd love to hear from you. Which Stoic technique spoke to you the most, and how do you plan to apply it in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm always inspired by your insights and experiences. And if you found this exploration of Stoicism valuable, don't forget to subscribe and join our growing community of thinkers and doers striving to live with greater purpose and self-mastery. Together, let's continue this journey toward a life of unshakable self-control and profound fulfillment.